So 1773,
Yeah.
she publishes her poems on various subjects,
Religious and moral.
religious and moral.
And the Countess Selina Hastings in London, her priest was George Whitefield. And he was the chaplain of Selina Hastings, and she read Phillis's elegy about him and was overwhelmed and said, does this person have more poems? She wrote to Susanna Wheatley and said, I want to publish. Myself and Archibald Bell will lock this in, just send her over. And before she knew it, Phillis, at age 20, was the most famous African woman on the planet.
What do George Washington, Michelle Obama, Phillis Wheatley, and Frederick Douglass all have in common? Tall Power Paul, Paul Oakley Stovall, a polymath, actor, singer, writer, director, joining me here for this episode of AmRev360. So just for the benefit of our viewers, you are here in Philadelphia for rehearsals for the world premiere that's coming up of your new play.
Yes, it is called Written by Phillis, and it's about Phillis Wheatley. And it's a strange title, but we'll get back to it. But part of why I decided to call it Written by Phillis is because in one of the opening scenes, she's being interrogated by the most respectable gentlemen of Boston, including the governor. And like, that's how much fear she inspired in the power structure, because they couldn't believe that an enslaved woman would be able to produce that level of poetry. So they questioned whether all of the stuff they read had actually been written by Phillis.
Like a parlor trick.
Right.
So just to back up for a moment, Phillis Wheatley, enslaved as a child in Africa, west coast of Africa, brought to British North America.
To Boston.
To Boston.
On a ship called the Phillis. Her owners weren't that imaginative. I guess they looked up and said, oh, that's a good name. No. The Wheatleys, John Wheatley, a major wealthy, he was in the shipping business. His wife, Susanna, was a bit sickly. And back in that time, when someone was sickly, that ball was kind of rolling down the hill, and it was about maintaining. And they decided to buy Phillis to take care of Susanna. That was her specific and sole job. Right. She was not working in the field. She was not doing hard labor. That inspired some jealousy from the other enslaved people, not only working in the house, but around the area. But that was her job at 7.5 years old. And so Susanna took to her, and Susanna's twin children, Nathaniel and Mary, would share their lessons when they came home. And before you knew it, Phillis was learning Greek, Latin, and writing. And
so this is a good intersection to do a little biographical rewind on you, because this intersects with a big, the way we met was through your role playing George Washington in the traveling company for the musical Hamilton.
Yeah. I came up being a history, not buff, but fan. I was always interested in it. Again, not so deep that I knew who Phillis was. Fast forward to going to acting school and pursuing that career. I was in New York. Things weren't going great. That happens. As Denzel Washington says, all you have to do is get up one more time, then you fall down. And so I was in the midst of that. Am I going to get up one more time, or am I going to just leave the acting profession? And a friend of mine said, we need volunteers on this Obama campaign, this guy running for president. And I said, oh, the guy who's going to lose to Hillary. Right. Good luck with that. I don't want to waste my time with that, because it's not going to happen. And he said, well, I don't know. I think he's a great guy. I think something could happen. 6 months later, he's sort of becoming Obama. Yeah. And actually, it was an event in Philadelphia where I first encountered them. They were doing an event. The campaign was in full swing. This is the first campaign. And they did what's called an OTR. So they had their main campaign event, and then they were going to do a little quick trip to West Philly to a barbershop and just kind of surprise the neighborhood and say hello. It's a good way to encourage people to register to vote in pockets where they might not have, where they should be showing some interest, but they might feel like I originally did, like, So my friend said, listen, the campaign's growing faster than we can staff. If you can come from New York, this is what you do, XYZ. I don't have to get too much into that. And I ended up meeting both of them and helping with that off-the-record event that day. Yeah. To the point where, as the story goes, Mrs. Obama said, yeah, who was that one tall guy? He talked to me for a second. He said he was from Chicago. We're from Chicago. And she said, yeah, if we're hiring people, see if he wants to, I got a phone call. Would you get on a plane tomorrow morning to Albuquerque, New Mexico? We have an event, because that's the way it began to happen. Once he picked Joe Biden, Joe was in one city, Dr. Biden, Joe was in another city. And it was the craziest time of my life, because I had to give up theater and acting and writing for I didn't know how long. And I was intoxicated by this world. I was watching how they handled themselves. And, from other staff members who were closer, when the door closed, or, what they needed and the privacy and et cetera. So when that was coming to an end, a lot of us, I wouldn't call it jumping ship, but we were looking for the next gig. Mm-hmm. And I did some stuff for some other politicians, and I ended up having a play of mine produced, and Phylicia Rashad directed it. Mm-hmm. So now I'm with another kind of prominent figure in the Black community, watching how she handles herself. And I'm just soaking it all up. She is now directing a play off Broadway and says, do you want to assistant direct for me? And I said, sure. All I have to do is sit there and watch the master. But being in New York, now my agent tells someone he's in New York, and I went to a party with Phylicia and run into the casting people of Hamilton.
And this is like Garden of Eden, right? They're just getting this thing started.
The Broadway production has been going, but they are, similar to the Obama campaign, the tours are starting. And it's almost going faster than they can. So they're, having to staff the tours, cast the tours. And they were like, oh, we thought you weren't acting anymore. What are you doing in New York? Oh, small talk. Huh. Next day, they want to see you. I go in. And from there, it was traditional. From there, it was, I think, 6 or 7 times I was seen. In between, plenty of time to let it go and say, oh, I guess I didn't get it. The traditional kind of trying to get a role in a show. And it was that 7th time where, and by the 5th time, if I just do the right thing, you can tell, but you still have to kind of cross on over the Allegheny. And I got in, and it was not lost on me that I was playing the first and having had the experience of working with a first.
Yeah. So where did how did she arrive at your doorstep?
Good old Phillis. I was being interviewed. When you're on tour, 2 cities ahead, they'll have you do an interview. So when the West Palm Beach magazine comes out, because Hamilton's coming, they can print the interview early. So I had stumbled upon some of Phyllis's stuff, and my mother turned around and reached and said, oh, you mean Phillis Wheatley? But that was there the whole time. My mom knows all of that stuff, but she can hardly get through all her books. So I had dug in a little bit and said, wow, this would be a good play. So when the interviewer said to me at the end of the interview, all right, the final fun question, if you could have dinner with anyone from George Washington's time period, who would it be? And I said, well, you got to give me 3, because George is one of them. I hope you know that. And then I think I said Baron Frederick von Steuben. And then I said, and Phillis Wheatley, which, garnered a curious, who? What woman, who are you talking about? And I told her who it was. And even as I was saying it, I thought, Phillis and George in a scene, there's something there. And then the artistic director of this theater, we had known each other over the years. He saw that interview and reached out to me and said, you serious about we'd known each other through theater circles over the years. And now he's running a theater in his hometown where he swore he'd never go back to. But we all go home we all go home. You're going to go home one way or the other.
That's right.
Eventually. But he's home now, young and go-getter and this great theater, Quintessence, that works with classics and also looks for new classics.
Mm-hmm.
So they haven't gotten into the world premiere world yet, but I've started a collective called New Classics Collective, where I want to unearth new classics as well. Mm. So we are taking this crazy adventure, this crazy leap together.
Yeah, it's, I've thought a lot about the similarities between the work you're doing mm-hmm. and when we put these exhibitions together. Mm-hmm. I've often described the Museum of the American Revolution here as a movie you can walk through, because right. Curators have got to make all those hard decisions. So you can't tell every story. Mm-hmm. You've got imperfect evidence sometimes. And so, as you say, you're trying to create the most likely read on a situation. Mm-hmm. And you're trying to, in a lot of cases, bring forth a bigger truth that is more than just 1 + 1 = 2.
Right.
You got to get to 4.
We know what we don't know. And there's so much we don't know. There's so much intuition that you have to have and your colleagues have to have about history. Mm-hmm. And some would say you're taking liberties here, but it isn't. It's carefully cultivated evidence that leads to the most likely mm-hmm. situation, right?
Our craft, whether it's making museums or writing for the stage mm-hmm. or for film, is often about putting ourselves into another person and trying to, mm-hmm. first of all, inhabit their world. But then when you're writing dialogue, I'm just curious about what it was like to sort of try to, bring Phillis to life, to write that dialogue, to think about how she would respond in the situation, relate to those around her.
No, that is a great question, because I usually write contemporary characters. Dialogue flows right out of me. I easily put myself in the shoes of each character. As any good playwright would tell you, they are every character in the show. Mm-hmm. So this was, first of all, her poetry is so heightened and so complex. And I use a lot of her poetry in the show, by the way. So also fans of Phillis will, I don't want to give away too much, but she will burst into her poetry as a reaction to what has just happened to her, or it leads into the next scene. So we don't just use it as the actress standing there saying her poems. Mm-hmm. It is all active in the storyline. So that was difficult. Mm-hmm. So let's say it's heightened modern patois.
Yeah,
that's what I'm going for.
It's not archaeological in the sense that, right.
Right. People won't get lost. Mm-hmm. I would have gotten lost myself. Mm-hmm. So this play is very accessible. Mm-hmm. As I'm pitching more to see the play.
Paul, if viewers are interested in following you, keeping track of what you're up to, which takes a lot of effort because you're doing so dang much. What are the best ways to follow you kind of out in the social media world?
I am at Tall Power Paul on all platforms. At Tall Power Paul. I'm making short films. I'm working on 2 TV pilots, kind of trying to get into that world a bit, but this play and Phillis, it reminds me of my roots.